What's going on, Jets fans? Welcome on into the Jets Report. My name is Patrick Siepman, and we got a loaded show for you guys today. Garrett Wilson was talking after practice, and what he had to say should have you guys fired up. Then the second half of today's show, 5 players that could get cut from the New York Jets roster. But before we dive into that all, I got some great injury news for you guys. Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, and Jermaine Johnson were all practicing today. Sauce was working off to the side with some trainers, still doing with that calf injury. But still good news there that Sauce is back out there, and especially with Quinnen Williams and Jermaine Johnson heading against the Pittsburgh Steelers week 1. They're going to need all 3 of those guys out there 110%, and it's looked like we are trending in that direction. So before we dive into the cut candidates and also tell you guys what Garrett Wilson had to say, if you guys could help us get more likes than our Packers Report channel did yesterday on their video. They got 347 likes. I'm trying to top that on today's show. So if you guys could go down there, hit that thumbs up icon. And if you want to wish the Jets some good injury luck this season, it's another great way to do so. Hit that thumbs up icon. All right, so Garrett Wilson was talking after practice today and just talking about the future and his future specifically with the New York Jets and how bought in he is to this new organization, this new regime that is in there. And it was pretty cool stuff. So let's just share with you guys a quote here. Garrett Wilson talking about the New York Jets saying, just from talking to the staff and getting to know their philosophy and what they want to see out of me as far as being exactly bought in. Like you said, a little more ownership, being a little more personal, this is my future. This is my home right here. And Garrett Wilson is obviously an elite competitor. Like, he wants to go out there and win football games, but he wants to win football games with the New York Jets. And, he had a decision to make this offseason. If he didn't like what Aaron Glenn and this new regime were talking about throughout the whole offseason process, he could have said, hey, guys, I'm just going to play out, my last year of my contract and that 5th-year option, and then I'll go test free agency. Now, also, that'll be risky for Wilson because the Jets could have always placed a franchise tag on him. But clearly, he wants to be here. He signed that contract extension for a reason because he wants to turn this organization around. And with him being one of the blue chippers, one of the faces of the franchise, it's great to see that leadership coming in from number 5. But he also said this, saying we've got to get this thing rolling, not just because of me, but because that's what all of us came here to do. We came here to leave a legacy, man. Mine is going to be here. With that, I want to be as great as it can be. There's certain ways you have to act if you want that and really mean that. And I love that. Like, he understands there's a standard 20 football games in the National Football League. And, that standard over the last couple of years was not there. But he is seeing what Aaron Glenn's been doing. He's seeing even how Tanner Engstrad and Justin Fields, the leader of that offense, have been conducting themselves. And he is bought in. So I love this mentality from number 5. And just speaking about Garrett Wilson and this passing game, there's no doubt it is going to be the biggest X factor this season for the New York Jets. If they can consistently win in the passing game week in, week out, this football team should be a problem because you're going to rely on that defense, who should have a massive bounce back year. We're all assuming the Jets should be able to run the ball at a very high level, but the X factor to this team that could be the difference between 6 and 10 wins this season is that passing game. Now, they have gotten off to a slow start. Garrett Wilson in the preseason, he's gotten 4 targets from Justin Fields, and it's resulted in 0 receptions. And also the average depth of target is only sitting at 5 yards. Now, I thought what was interesting, they're lining Garrett Wilson all up over the field. I thought this was more on display against the Green Bay Packers where they were lining him in the slot out wide, and they were sending him in motion a whole bunch. So I could see Garrett Wilson almost taking on that Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson role where in those offenses they have that X receiver hopping in the slot, hopping outside. You could even see him lined up in the backfield at a certain point this season. But I've seen fans kind of freaking out about this. Like, we didn't even get one Garrett Wilson, Justin Fields play this entire preseason. Just trust the process. These guys have a great connection. There's no doubt in my mind. I mean, they had that great connection, a couple years ago back at Ohio State. They just need to get back on the same page. And honestly, Garrett, I'm sure he is going to go through stages this season where he's getting frustrated. And it's not because of, Justin Fields and this offense. I think it's going to be because of the looks he is going to get. So what is that? Or what do the Jets need to do to kind of combat that? You got to have a guy like Mason Taylor step up. You got to have a guy like Tyler Johnson, Josh Reynolds, Arian Smith, another one of these wide receivers where these defenses can't completely, give all their attention to number 5. How about Mason Taylor has a big year 1? How about Arian Smith? Even though you're a rookie, selected in the 4th round, what if he looks like a legit wide receiver too? Or even my guy, Tyler Johnson. Him stepping up could be huge for this offense. So I'll ask you guys this. Be honest with me. Are you concerned about the Jets passing game Give me a Y for yes. Give me an N for no down below. I would say I'm a little concerned right now, but it's only been preseason football. Haven't really gotten a good evaluation just yet. So I am a little concerned, but I'm not hitting the panic button by any means. So you guys, let me know your thoughts. Are you concerned about the Jets passing game? Y for yes, N for no. Now we'll talk about some cut candidates here in a second for the New York Jets. But before we do so, today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. And preseason football is underway and college football is here. So don't miss any of the action this season on Prize Picks. Now, if you guys download the Prize Picks app today and plug in promo code CLNS, we'll hook you guys up with $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Now, Prize Picks is simple to play. All you have to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. Prize Picks is also the best way to get action on sports. In more than 40 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia, Prize Picks puts their members first. So all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. And Prize Picks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. They actually have a sweet deal going on for you guys right now where they have a free square where only one Dak Prescott yard week 1 will get you guys 1 win on Prize Picks. So make sure you guys include this in all of your lineups. It's literally just a free win coming in from our good old friends over there at Prize Picks. So take advantage of this deal before it's too late. Now, one last time, download the Prize Picks app today. Plug in promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. But shout out to Prize Picks for sponsoring today's edition of the Jets Report. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, let's talk about some cut candidates here because a lot of people have been putting out their 53-man roster projections for the New York Jets, and a couple of big-time names were actually left off that final projection. And probably the biggest name I've seen floated out there, how about Derrick Nnadi, defensive tackle? Now, we've all been talking about who's going to be that D tackle that steps up next to Quinnen Williams because I love the Jets front seven. Quinnen, Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald, plus the linebacking core. You know, they check every box except for that second defensive tackle next to Quinnen Williams. So they've been looking at guys in the preseason to step up. They've been even looking at some UDFAs to step up. And with Derrick Nnadi having a poor training camp, having a poor preseason, he could be on the outside looking in when it's all said and done. And Mike Luciano, who writes for the New York Jets, said this: Nnadi's fall from grace has been swift and merciless as he went from a key run-stuffing starter on a high-end defense that won multiple championships to someone who has been left in the dust by Brian Cowart. Nnadi needs to turn things around quickly in New York. And it's not like Nnadi's been performing well at all during the preseason either. Like, obviously, he's been struggling during training camp, but also when he's been out there in the preseason, he hasn't shown much. His overall PFF grade, 48.9. Run defense, 51.4. Tackle, solid grade there, but not really showing you anything in the pass rush department either, and that comes in a pretty hefty sample size of 39 snaps. And I think the biggest reason why he'll be left off here is because of these two guys showing out. I don't think there's an argument you can make to leave off Jay Tufele or Leonard Taylor III. Both these guys have impressed me. They're both elite at getting to the quarterback from the interior, especially Tufele, man. I think the Jets may have a hidden gem potentially with him being at the defensive tackle spot. So the first name here, Derrick Nnadi. Second name, Jeremy Ruckert, tight end. And, you know, with Stone Smart having a really good preseason, and obviously with the Jets spending a second-round pick on Mason Taylor, I think it might be tough for him to make the roster. Now, I think this is just going to be simply a numbers game for Ruckert, where if the Jets keep 3 tight ends, he's for sure going to make the team. But if they keep 2 tight ends, he is probably cooked. Like, I don't think there's a chance he makes the team over Stone Smart or obviously Mason Taylor. So if the Jets only go with 2 guys at that tight end position, which is very much on the table, we have seen this in the past with football teams, I think he'll be on the outside looking in as well on the 53-man roster. Now, quickly here on Zaire Barnes, I just think he's a cut candidate because of mainly of McCrary Ball playing some good football during the preseason. And, you know, with Jamin Davis, he'll probably make the team as well, along with Quincy Williams and Jamian Sherwood. So I think Zaire Barnes will get cut. And then also, kind of similar to Jeremy Ruckert here, Adrian Martinez. Now, Adrian Martinez has impressed me somewhat in the preseason. Like, you know, me making this argument that he'll probably get cut has really nothing to do with the play he had on the field, because I do feel like he showed flashes, but I don't think he showed enough flashes for the Jets to keep 3 quarterbacks on their active roster. Now, obviously, it would be Fields and Tyrod, And I just don't think Martinez has shown enough where the Jets coaching staff and this front office is like, hey, we can't risk him heading to the practice squad because another team poaching him. I'm assuming he'll be put on the practice squad, he'll remain with the New York Jets, and he'll be that emergency third quarterback for the entire year. And then the last guy we've talked about a lot, we have been on the channel for the last couple of months, Malachi Corley. I just really think there is no way he ends up making the team. And I thought it was pretty telling this past preseason matchup against the Giants, him pretty much running out there with the fours and really not being involved with the offense whatsoever. So I'd be stunned if Corley ends up making the team, which obviously a little depressing. You spent a high third-round pick on the guy. I'm pretty sure it was 62nd overall, and you're cut him. The following season, he'll probably be picked up by the Pittsburgh Steelers and his friend Aaron Rodgers. But, again, I think it will go with a guy like Quentin Skinner. He's been balling out during preseason. Even a guy like Brandon Smith, I think, has more equity in the making this roster over a guy like Malachi Corley. So those are the 5 guys I got. You guys just got to give me one down below in the comment section. Name a surprising cut candidate for the New York Jets. We'll see you guys next time. Hit that subscribe button on your way out. As always, go Jets.